Hey guys, today I have a very nice Aduthlete story. It's someone who started running from zero, and probably many of you relate to that. So, this is one point if you really want to understand what are the challenges that you are facing and that you need to overcome. But my guest today has also a very special story to tell. It's not only about the mindset of starting running and going to an half marathon and a full marathon, but she went viral. Something happened. She made a decision just right before her full marathon, and then she just did it. It was a lot of fear. She did it through the fear, which I think it's an amazing thing to do. And then she went viral. If you really want to know why she went viral, what's the story behind, stay tuned because this, I promise, it's a very funny story. I'm EGR, and this is Aduthlete. Hi, Daria. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Thank you very much for coming today. It took a little bit for organizing ourselves. We're very busy women, but eventually we managed. So I'm really happy and thank you for being here. Um, it's important for me to talk with you because I remember I was checking on some social network. I don't even remember anymore. And then I saw you went for a marathon and you have a very cool story to tell us today. But most of everything, you are an athlete. So you are an adult who is striving and trying to do sport, which is very hard for adults. And it's also very different. So I would like to know a little bit more about your experience and the challenges that you have encountered and that you are still facing, actually, because life never ends, right? Until we die.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
so tell me a little bit about your running journey because it's a pretty tough thing to start as an adult.
hmm
Um, how did you start running and did you do it in the past?
hmm Yeah, I mean, running is a very simple activity, but it's not very easy. So I actually never had in my plans to start running. That was never part of my original plan. My original plan about 4 years ago was to become consistently more active. I was trying to improve my overall health and I was going into direction of improving my strength. So that was my original plan. And at the end of the day, I joined a challenge, and that challenge called for some cardio. And I'm not really a big fan of cardio, at least I wasn't back then. And I decided that a good cardio for me to mix in into my challenge would be doing some running. And so to get me kind of going, what I did, I downloaded a plan to train for half marathon. So it was like basically run your first marathon from zero to a half marathon in 12 weeks. So I have downloaded
Wow.
that plan and I actually started to follow it. And this running, this cardio was supposed to be just like a small part of my trainings. It was supposed to be an add-on. It was not supposed to be a main thing for me. And, like I still remember my very first run. It was absolutely horrible. It was absolutely terrible. So this plan has called for a first training of just run 10 minutes. That was the assignment. Just try and run 10 minutes
10.
outside. Yeah. And I haven't been running before. So it was January, so it was right after New Year, so about 4 years ago now.
New Year resolution.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, one could say it was. I don't remember if it was New Year resolution. It could have been because I actually do New Year's resolutions, so it could have been. It was so horrible. It was really, really difficult for me to run even 10 minutes. And so I thought, I don't even see how one can do from zero to half marathon in 12 weeks. It felt very, very impossible for me at that
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
And but you managed, or did you have any hiccup?
I didn't have hiccup because, I decided, so my plan was not never to run, like never to run half marathon. I just downloaded the plan to have something, have a consistent structure for my cardio add-on. That was what's happening. I thought if I have a plan and I have like a step by step, then it's easier for me to go, okay, today I have to run 10 minutes, then tomorrow I have to run 15, then in 2 weeks, maybe I'm
Mhm.
already on 30 minutes. So I just continued following this plan no matter what. So like the secret was to really stay consistent and disciplined. It was never about motivation. For the most part, I think like first 2 weeks, I really didn't want to do it. I just kept going.
But did you run a half marathon after 12 weeks or did you postpone that?
So, we actually had a half marathon coming up in Berlin where I live in April. So it would exactly be about 12 weeks mark from when I started my plan. And I had this like really quiet dream in my head. I'm gonna run one next year. Because I
Hmm.
thought really like at the stage when I started, it felt so absolutely impossible. But then I actually met one of my friends and she said, you don't run half marathon before you run half marathon, you just go and run it. And I thought that sounds really crazy, but it really motivated me. What motivated me. So I actually went home and I booked a half marathon run in Berlin. So I have done my first half marathon after 12 weeks of training. Yeah. And it was also a very successful run. I was trying to head for, I think, 2 hours, 10 minutes, and I have done it sub two. So it was really, really great achievement for me for a first run. Yeah.
Yeah, well, definitely that's a great achievement. Like I have started, as you said, with 10 minutes run some years ago, and it was very hard, exactly as you
Yeah.
described. I felt like I was dying. And
Yes.
actually, it stems from the past because I had a bad experience as a child. We had one of those runs. I don't even remember how much was it, maybe 5K, maybe even less, and we trained for that at school, and then I went for it and it was a disaster. I was not the
Hmm.
last one but the one before the last one. I think it signed me for life after that because I felt like I cannot run. Like I
Yeah.
tried and I cannot, but that was wrong. And actually as an adult I started running, but yeah, I've never run half marathon. Definitely, I think I run maximum 10K. um but like going from zero to
Hmm.
half marathon in 12 weeks, I mean, that's impressive.
Hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah, but like what happened for me after first, I think 3 or 4 weeks of running, it really like running started to take over my life. Because
Mhm.
imagine like in winter, you also have a motivation to go outside, the endorphins you get after, it just became a huge part of my life very quickly.
Mhm. Yeah, it can help, the routine of going out. Like now it's a little bit of time that I'm not going.
Hmm.
I do a lot of different other things, so I'm fine with it. But yeah, when you start doing it and when you don't do it anymore,
Hmm.
you feel the difference. There's
Yeah.
like this kind of habit that keeps you alive, basically.
Hmm. Yeah.
um so and what happened after? Like, did you continue running, by the way?
Well, what happened after, once I did my first half marathon, like the moment I really didn't know how it's going to feel when I crossed the finish line for the first time. And I don't remember exactly, but I think we have about 40,000 runners in the half marathon in Berlin.
Wow.
And once you cross the line, I mean, you feel so unstoppable, like the sense of this pride and accomplishment. But I think for me, it was like this feeling of like, I can do anything. It
Yeah.
was really, truly life changing. So, of course, like running then had later on big influence on all of like other parts of my life, but I couldn't stop. Like I continued. I think like after this half marathon, I went straight to do a couple other runs that we have around Berlin, definitely. Yeah. And I even started to already like quietly look at the running clubs, what kind of club I would like to join. So it very quickly became very serious and I continued. Yeah.
Yeah, that feeling I can relate so much. I can do anything, once you
Hmm.
get something that you felt it was impossible for you, then you get it and like, well, then I can plan for everything, you know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
That's very brain rewiring that happens in those moments. Um, there is something special also that happened in this half marathon. Was it this one or was another one?
No, it wasn't this one. It was 4 years. 4 years later. This year, I've done a full marathon.
A full marathon. Okay. So, first of all, how did you come from that moment when you started running and doing an half marathon in 12 weeks to today, basically doing a full marathon?
You know, when I really like try sometime to go back into thinking how myself, I thought 4 years ago, like if I would told myself that I'm gonna do a full marathon, myself, like the past self, wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah.
Because at that time, like half marathon felt very unattainable. And now I have done full marathon and it still feels a little bit unattainable actually to me. Well, like as I continued to run, again, full marathon was never actually my goal. I was completely happy with doing half marathons. I've done quite few by now, and half marathon distance is very attainable. It's very comfortable. You can comfortably train for it. You can enjoy the run. Like it's a quite challenging run, but also you get to really, really enjoy the entire run. So I
Hmm.
never really attempted to do a full marathon. But then what happened was, I think people around me started to ask, so when are you going to do a full marathon? So this have put a little bit of seed in my head, because I think for many people, once you do half marathon, the marathon is a natural next step. The thing is that I that wasn't for me. I really wanted to just continue doing half marathons. I was really happy with them. At that point, like I didn't really have to train a lot for them, so it was very easy to maintain. But
Comfortable spot.
it was really comfortable, and at that time, by that time, I already joined a running club, and we were doing a lot of half marathons, and it was just a very comfortable distance for me. But then in 2022, I think, yeah, in 2022, I went to volunteer. I do volunteer around Berlin in different sporting events. I went to volunteer in a full marathon,
Hmm.
and that was a 48th marathon in Berlin, and I was at the starting line. So I was really early on there at the starting blocks, and like once everyone arrived, the energy there and like the focus that people had and the energy they had, and I was like, I could feel I'm like getting nervous for them, because it's like you really feel like this tense feeling in the air, and people are excited but also a little bit scared, I suppose. So like you feel that energy, like, and when they really started to run, I was like, I was so energized. I was like, I want to be that person. I want to be at the starting line. And I thought, I want to do one time in my life a marathon, a full marathon. And then, since we had a 50th marathon coming 2 years later, I was like, I just made a deal with myself right then, right there. I'm going to do a 50th Berlin Marathon no matter what. So in 2 years' time.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, that sealed the deal for me. Like I was so energized seeing those people. I was like, I want to be that person, and I want to do the 50th Berlin Marathon because I thought it's an anniversary run. It's going to be a bigger event. It's going to be more special. It's going to be historic event. And I thought if I'm about to do one, might as well do this one. And I was so determined. I thought if they will not draw, of course, because you cannot buy a spot like to a full marathon, like a half marathon, you have to actually participate in a lottery. They have to draw your name, or if you don't,
Really?
yeah, I mean, it's really, really competitive. It's very
Wow, I had
competitive.
no clue about that. Really? All of them? Or just like this one?
If you are a very fast runner, and I don't remember exactly, but you have to have a proof that you're a fast runner, and you have to have actually a
Okay.
certificate from a different run proving that you are. So basically, if you're a fast runner, there are a certain amount of spots that they give to fast runners. Everyone else, athletes like myself, they have to participate in a lottery for their name to be drawn.
Okay.
And then I thought, okay, if my name is not going to be chosen, I'm going to participate and work for charity to get a spot. I already had a plan B. I thought I
Hmm.
am going to run this marathon. It became like my next big thing.
Are you, because like otherwise you could have run for the charity?
Yeah, so otherwise you can basically open like a charity fund. There are a couple of charities that receive a couple of spots for Berlin Marathon and half marathon as well. I
Okay.
actually did get 2 spots for the half marathon through charity because I
Cool.
do like a campaign every year where I collect money for hospitals that help kids with heart disease.
Hmm.
And I thought, okay, if I don't get that spot, I'm definitely going to get it for charity, 1000%. I already have experience. I just have to collect bigger amount of money, basically. So I was
Okay.
very, very determined. Yeah. So
That
this
was a
is
big
where
goal.
it was a big goal, and this is where my idea was born, really, when I was volunteering and when I got this energy into me.
Yeah, sometimes people may think, okay, if I have to volunteer, it's going to be a boring job. I just stand there. But sometimes just to go to the event, and I wouldn't go to just watch an event. There's a lot of people who do that.
Yeah.
And it's great while you're running and they're like, hip hip hurrah for you. And you're just running and they make some noise. But on the other side, I would never do it. But volunteering, I think it's also pretty nice to be a little bit more part of it. But at
Hmm.
the same time, being there and feeling the energy and in the end being inspired as you did, which is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
Hmm.
so we came to this point, and
Mm.
not only you had this very big goal, but you had something else for us. Like this is like one of the most amazing stories I've ever heard. What happened? Tell us.
Well, maybe before we get there, I can say also that in 2023 I did enter the lottery for the spot in the marathon,
Hmm.
and actually it was a very special run because normally I think they also have about 40,000 runners, and at this time they were going to have 50,000, which also was then increased to almost 60,000 runners.
Wow.
So it was a lot of runners that were trying to also get the spot because it's one of the bigger marathons around the world. And on top of it, it was anniversary. So it was
Yeah.
really hard competition to get the spot. So I was already prepared to work with the charity. But then in I think October 2023, I entered the lottery and they were drawing the names on the 6th of December, so for Santa's Day. And yeah, I got an email that I got a ticket for the marathon. So I was so absolutely happy. I couldn't believe it on one side. But on the other side, I have to say it was already 3 years of my running journey. And I was at that time really hitting a little bit of a burnout running wise.
Mm.
So I was like very happy to have gotten the spot. But on the other side, I've been pushing myself so hard for 3 years that I think I wasn't even sure if I'm going to run the marathon.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just the moment when you get it, and then you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to do it anymore.
Well, I knew that I want to make that dream come true, but on the other side, my body physically was really, I was tired. I was
Mm.
really tired. And, you know, Berlin, like marathon training is much longer training. I've never done a longer, until then, I've never done a longer run than 25K. And I was just feeling like, oh, I don't know if I can train for it. I don't know if I can. I couldn't understand why I was also so tired and why I was burning out. So yeah, at the end, it was very mixed feelings. I was very happy because I knew I have gotten the ticket. I still had about eight months or 9 months to train and make up my mind. But on the other hand, I was just very tired. Mm, I was not performing the same way. I didn't really enjoy running as I did before. So it was a very, it took me months until I actually started to train for the full marathon.
Wow. So you
Yeah.
took like a break at some point.
I took a break and I really, well, in a way I took a break, but in a way I also continued to running races. Like I did a half marathon after, and I did another half marathon in Berlin, and then I did another half marathon in Potsdam. So I went to some runs here and there with my
Hmm.
team, but at the same time, I didn't really enjoy it anymore, you know? It's been
Mm,
like 3 years, more than 3 years in, and I couldn't understand why. And I think around May, I needed a reality check, you know. I needed to sit down with myself and really ask myself what's happening. And if I'm not going to run the marathon, I should really give up that spot to someone that wants to run it and someone that
hmm.
will train and will be happy to run it. And I realized that my mindset needed to shift because I started to run to become more healthy and more fit. And over time, because I participated in so many races and I've joined a really ambitious running club, it became all about running the next race and achieving the next medal and just be constantly pushing myself and constantly being unstoppable and no excuses, you know?
Hmm.
And I just lost the sight of why I was doing it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it's really important to sit down with yourself and align with your initial goals because I have lost the sight of that. And my body was it was May already. My body was absolutely refusing to train or run. And in
Yeah.
May, I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it differently. I'm not going to run for the time anymore. I'm not going to run for whatever. I'm just going to run for enjoying that process of running. And I decided to run everything with like my aerobic pace. So I enjoy it and it's healthier for me also.
Hmm.
And I started to, in May, I made a commitment to my goal again. Of course, it was a very short time because the marathon was happening at the end of September. So it was really, really last call. It also meant I was going to do majority of my training in summer. I don't really enjoy running in summer that much. But I decided to do it and I decided to just enjoy it and remember what my original goal was. I actually stopped going also to my running club at that time because um, I felt there was a lot of pressure there. Like once I
Hmm.
was there in that environment, I would put even more pressure for me. So I tried to train more by myself and just approach this subject differently.
Yeah. But I think this is so common for adults, that's why it's
Yeah.
different. I followed a lot, and I still follow athletes. Um, One sport that I was in is figure skating, and it's very competitive, it's very
Mm,
demanding, and it's also very risky because on the ice you can fall pretty easily.
yeah.
And then you have like these very small children, basically Russian girls, that they kill themselves. And I
Mm,
remember once I heard one of the coach saying, I mean, she's very popular, she's called Tuberitze, and she's kind of a terror because everybody says that she breaks girls. um, and she said like, well, this is not the time for soul searching. So basically they instruct them to be robots and
hmm
to just do the things that you have to do without asking why and how and blah blah blah. And I think up to a certain level this works in terms of getting to the Olympics and smashing them and win, and then that's it. But after that they kind of retire very early,
hmm
or they just fall down, and it is like constantly going up and down. Some of them even get surgeries for over exertion on joints. And for adults it's completely different. Like we are really asking, because we have full-time jobs,
hmm
so how the hell do you put yourself in so much stress after you have been working for 8 hours, if not more? And you really need to find the reason. and so and the soul searching that we kind of go into it. But eventually you see you kind of played until the very end, but
Yeah.
then you pull it out.
Yeah.
Like you put yourself into this kind of mental state that, oh no, I'm not going to do it, but eventually you push yourself to do it because you had a goal. And you're
Yeah.
like, am I going to refuse a goal? Am I going to leave the spot for someone else? Like it would have been a shame. I would feel it that way, at least, for
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, yeah, 1000%. I was really close to giving up and really close to saying, you know what, I have to let go of that. This is not good for me. It's also, one has to be really clear. Long distance running induces a lot of cortisol. There's a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And especially if you run fast, um, it's actually on the long run not very healthy, and especially for women. I'm in my 30s and I should be really watching out for my cortisol, and I was really doing the opposite of that. So
Yeah.
I've almost given up. One thing that I kept in mind was, yeah, it's a big goal of mine, so that's one thing, but it's a goal that will never come back. There will never be a 50th Berlin Marathon again.
Yeah.
And if I'm not going to do it now, I'm not going to do it. And I was kind of choosing between this and kind of thinking, but then the healthy side would tell me to not run. But then I realized there's something in the middle. I could choose to run in a more healthy way. I could
Hmm.
choose to subtract myself from inducing so much cortisol in me. I don't have to run that fast. I can do it in a more comfortable way when I'm more present in the process rather than thinking about what's going to happen when I arrive.
Yeah.
And I decided to subtract myself also from the running club, which really helped. And I'm still part of the running club. I just kind of joined them at more fun events. So I'm part of the community, but I'm no longer really attending every week their weekly runs when I really feel kind of um, I'm more prone to pressure myself once I am in
Yeah.
this environment.
Yeah. Peer
And so
pressure.
yeah, and that's the thing. And um, so this is how it went. But I really was very happy that I decided to recommit myself to this goal. The trainings
Hmm.
were really, really hard. It's a big commitment to train for marathon. And it's not just the training itself, it's everything that happens around training. So if you have a long run on Sunday, then maybe on Sunday you're not going to meet your friends. Maybe you cannot eat certain
Yeah.
foods. Maybe you cannot go out on Saturday. So it's running a marathon, it's a big, big commitment.
Sacrifices.
There's a lot of sacrifices I've been doing. And it was like throughout the summer too. So the sacrifices were, I could really feel them. I've missed out
Yeah.
on I've missed out on, or I chose to miss out on a lot of things because of this goal. But yeah, it's not really always, one has to find what's good for them in everything and what doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the process. As you said, you should not only, because I think one of the big mistake that people make thinking about, being an athlete, being someone who does sport, and they look up to people who do things like you did, deciding to run a marathon or half marathon and then picking up a plan, doing the plan, get there, done. And they may see, I don't know, you can show some statistics of how much you run, your times, whatever, and they may just see this. They don't imagine how much struggle and fight you have within
Mm,
yourself every freaking day. And there's so many days, most of the days, I would say, that you wake up and like, I'm not going to pull this out.
mm,
Like so
mm-hmm,
much hate against yourself, but eventually you do it. And of course, people don't see that. It's only in your mind, it's only in your thoughts. But what matters is just you wake up the next day, even if you miss one day, then you come back.
mm-hmm.
Eventually, you're going to come back more often than not doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that a lot of people, they are waiting until some sort of like magical motivation, or they think like, oh, if I would have this motivation that this person has, I could do it. We don't have motivation for
Yeah.
for the most part. For the most part, many times I didn't want to run. It's all about consistency and discipline and really grit, really about
Yeah,
staying committed to your goals. And it's like these moments when you the most don't want to do it, this is exactly where you should do it.
exactly. Yeah. And then the feeling you have after.
Yeah,
Like when you do something and you start with the thought, okay, I don't know, I'm going to go to the gym today. I'm going to do a run, but I'm going to take it easy because I don't feel like it. Two things I've noticed: you either go and you overperform that day just because you decided to not overdoing it.
yeah.
And after you're like, wow, that was easier than I thought. So the
Yeah.
next time you're like more motivated to say, okay, yeah, I don't feel like it, but maybe it's just a feeling that I have right now. It's going to change. It's not going to follow me. And this actually pushes you to do it, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So do you want to tell us what happened as well at this marathon?
Just speaking to you now, I realized that this entire road to go to marathon was challenging for me. It was a bit stressful, and for some reason, I decided to add on another layer to this.
Yeah, you always push yourself even further, right?
Yeah, and okay, so I know what you're asking about. I'll be very candid about this because there's no other way to say it, I suppose. So, I've been single for a while, so I decided. Actually, at first, I just had this funny thought. It was born as a funny thought. I didn't think I'm gonna do it, but I had this idea of, you know, what if I'm gonna run a marathon with a sign? Because I was at that time looking for a date. And I'm not a fan of apps. I'm not using apps, and it's not easy to meet someone like
Hmm.
organically these days. For I work from home also, so I don't really have a lot of touch points with outside world on daily basis,
Hmm.
except maybe when I'm going to a running club and some of the hobbies I'm doing. But it's been really hard for me to meet someone. So I thought I'm just going to run a marathon with a sign. And at first it was an idea and it was a funny idea. But then I thought, this is actually very smart because of course I thought there are going to be people that will think this is absolutely stupid and they will not like it. But there will also be people that will find it funny. There will be people that might find it even interesting. And I thought, there's going to be like 50,000 runners and then a lot of spectators. And I thought the chances to actually meet someone interesting there are really high because if you're a runner, you are a very disciplined person. You're a loyal person too, for the most part. And those two are already good reason, to look there.
Yeah.
So I thought, I think I'm gonna run the marathon with a sign on. I was going to do a sign on my back on my vest. Actually, I have a running vest. And the closer I have gotten to running marathon, I thought I'm gonna do a marathon with a sign on my back.
And on the sign there was a QR code, so you made it even like very specific and technically sound, I would
Well,
say.
because yes, because well, it was technically sound, but then I realized it was also difficult to scan when I was running because I
Well,
was
yeah.
running, and the people behind me they were also running. But yeah, I thought, okay, so I at some point as it getting closer to the run, I started while I was also training, I started to think how should I do this sign? Like what is it gonna say? And so I thought, wow, it should have some kind of contact details, but maybe it would be easier if it has a QR code, maybe to my Instagram, uh, somewhere where people actually can connect with me.
And what did
And
you write on the sign? Did you write something?
I did write on the sign. I wrote on the sign. I worked on the sign what it said with a couple of friends of mine, and specifically one of them was very, very creative, and she has gotten me quite a few nice ideas. And the sign actually said, "I'm just here to find a boyfriend," which was actually quite funny because I actually just wanted the medal and I wanted my dream to come true. But also at the same time, I actually really wanted a date too.
Yeah, of course.
So
To
I
have a
made
complete life, right?
to have a complete life also outside of running. And I thought, okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. And I printed this it was quite big sign actually for my vest. I did a QR code with my Instagram so people can either scan or type in my Instagram. And that's it. That's what I decided to do. And it was all really fun and light until I think the morning of the run. Because when
So
I,
September 2024, you get to the run, you get the
yes,
sign on your back, and then what
yes.
happens?
I woke up in a very kind of optimistic mood. But as I started to dress and my sign was already attached to my vest and I started to put the vest on to go to the run, I was like, I had this realization of what I was about to do. And I was like, started to feel a little bit like nervous. But then I was like, what the hell? There was no one on the street. It was really like 6 o'clock in the morning or something. I started to go to my metro to get to the side of the run. And then
Yeah, because you were already dressed for running, basically. You were
I
not
was dressed
bringing
for
it with you,
running.
right? So you
Yeah,
even went to the run
with
dressed
the
like that.
sign. But then, like I was like, okay, I'm gonna take it off. Like I took off my vest and I carried it because I thought like, okay, like I don't need this like attention because the closer to the run you get, more people get on to the metro to go to the run. And I thought it's not time yet. I don't want to like think about it, And I have gotten to the warm-up place where I met my running squad. And I actually showed the sign to a couple of people and they thought it was absolutely hilarious. It was brilliant, but somehow I felt very self-conscious. So I put it aside, I warmed up, and after the warm-up, I had to go to the starting block because the time was actually really tight. And I really had to make this decision. Am I really going to run the marathon with this sign on my back? I had such cold feet. I felt it was just it was so out of my comfort zone. It's not a
Yeah.
usual thing one does,
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, okay, so, I'm a mindset coach. So I often ask people to go out of their comfort zone. And I thought to myself, I'm going to give myself the same advice as I always give to my clients, which is don't wait until you don't have the fear. Do it in spite of the fear. And I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So I put it on. And then I thought, okay, it's not going to be that bad. I'm just going to go very quickly, like a snake. It's fast. It's like 50,000 runners, but I'm going to be fast. No one is going to even notice. I'm going to go to the running blog and then I'm going to start running. No problem, right? Well, no, because that was my plan. In theory, in practice, actually didn't work out like that because the organizers of the run, I think they really underestimated what it means to have 60,000 runners all at once. So everyone started to head towards running blocks. And at some point, we all got in one spot, like stuck, traffic jam. So I was standing there like this with this sign on my back. I hear people talking behind me about the sign. I was like, oh my God, this felt to me like forever. I was
Yeah, like whispering about, I mean, obviously they see it and they're interested and curious. They may not even have a bad opinion about it, but they're
No,
like
it was
just
just like,
living it, right?
I know, it was just like I felt like everyone was looking at me. Of course, not everyone was looking at me, but that's what you feel if you were in that situation,
Obviously. Yes, yes.
Yeah. And then eventually we started to move very slowly and I got to the starting block and somehow I didn't even think about the sign anymore because once I got to the starting block, I realized, well, my real problem is actually to run the marathon now.
Yes.
I mean, that is the big challenge because as I told you, I started to only train in May and up until then, I think I ran 35, 36K. That was my longest run. And I know that many people will think, oh, it's just like 5K left. It's not just 5K left. Like this running, this 35, 36 was already very challenging for me. So it really daunted on me when I was at the starting block. I'm about to run 42K. And I
Hmm.
actually didn't know if I'm going to make it. I had really good day that day. I had really positive mindset. I felt really good, but still physically, I didn't know if I'm going to be able to make it. I believed I
Yeah.
was going to able to make it, but I didn't know if it's going to happen. And I also knew everything has to go right. And the temperature have to go right. I hope my foot is not gonna hurt. I also had a lot of worries logistically. Like I didn't know if, is there going to be enough water stations or toilets, or how often are they going to be? Or also my family came to cheer me, which was really amazing. And they were going to cheer me at different spots. And
Hmm.
I was also worried, will they be able to manage? Will they be able to find their way? It was just a lot of worries. So when I got to the starting block, I didn't really think about the sign, but I started to like put on my music and get into the mindset of running. But people started to come up to me. They were like, "Oh my God, I love your sign. Can I take a photo? This is a brilliant idea." And like people were so excited. I was like, it started to give me a lot of energy too.
Yeah, like you've done something good instead of something bad that you felt at the beginning, right? Or at least
I
not comfortable.
I mean, because you don't know what you can expect. But
Hmm.
I will tell you that people are very supportive, interested, and both like guys and girls, like everyone was just the community was just so there. And I think also this has put a smile on many people's faces. Like a lot of people were passing me and they were like, "Oh my God, I love the sign," or like, "Good luck with this," or "This is great." So even me, when I run and I see something funny, it gives you this kind of like a small wake up, a small energy
Hmm.
boost.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's a common sentiment that the dating is a little bit broken.
Yeah.
And by the way, I have a scientific explanation for you because I've been reading this book recently. No, it's actually a serious thing, but it gives a really good explanation on why this is happening. The thing is, society as we live in, we think it's fixed. We study a lot the past and we study all the changes that happen in history. But we don't really realize that changes are actually happening even today.
Hmm.
We're
Hmm.
going to see the results in 100 to 100 years and someone is going to talk about it. So what happens basically is that there is this book. It's actually about women changes when they take hormonal birth control. And I've already talked about this book a lot in my podcast because it opened my eyes seriously. And it's not only for women who take the pill; it's for all women and even men actually, because it explains from an evolutionary point of view what happens not only to women when they change their hormones, but also to the mechanics from
Hmm.
hormones and even men. And men actually change their hormones levels when women do, which
Hmm.
is a very interesting point.
Yeah.
And at the end of the book, there's not enough evidence yet, so it's a very new field of study, like 15 years of time. Uh, but what they're saying is that because from the 70s, when the pill was actually given to women who were not married, so it was available to them, there was a surge of people using it. And you can see from the statistics, there's a lot of women going at university, studying medicine, law, anything. The point is like not only women have become better and doing more and achieving more, but men are doing actually less. And why is that? So there's like, I think, two explanations she's saying. So, first of all, they are primed to chase in order to get sex. And in the past, a woman would be like very choosy because if I have sex with you, I must be sure that if I get pregnant and I have 9 months investment and a lifetime thing with me, I need to be sure that you are available and you can be a father and all of those things. So there would be less sex on the table for men. Now men have much more sex on the table. So they are not that motivated to actually get that. And this is one point. And then there's a change in the chemicals in the body. And this is like such a breakthrough, I think, that they're actually finding those information right now, and then nobody is actually talking about, even not researching enough, I would say. But the reason why the dating is probably gonna break our society a little bit if we don't do anything else is really about motivation.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard this thing from so many people. Women cannot find, so they either have to lower their standards and get a man, or they have to, search a lot, but there's not enough. Of course, not all men are bad. Absolutely. There's very great men out there. But like to find the one, because women have gotten so educated, they can earn a lot of money, and they're like, why should I? You know, Same reason why divorce rates are higher and
Mm-hmm.
initiated by 70% by women and up to 89% if they are college educated minimum. So you see, the standards are so high, and there's the motivation on the other side. And if you don't get this motivation, then it's going to break the deal, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people were really in love with what you did. In fact, you became viral, which is like, how much views did you get? It was like 3 billion.
Three
No,
point.
3 million. 3
I
million.
think it's like 3.6 million now.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't check before the episode. But I think people
I
are
also
really
didn't
feeling
check.
this.
Yeah, but I think it was like 2 weeks ago, 3.6 million now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And even like the short, like the reel that someone did to you was like not even impressive, but the
Mm-mm.
concept and the people really feel this inside themselves, They
Mm-hmm.
cannot find a partner, they cannot find someone.
It shows how relatable it was, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then you even started a trend because something else happened afterwards.
Yeah. So, okay, so let me fill in this story maybe. So in the marathon, in the marathon, I was being, of course, like a lot of people were passing me, and that was my idea, was to have runners pass me because I needed them to see my sign. And also on top of this, I really stay in the day, and that day I stayed really true to my goal, and my goal was to enjoy the run, enjoy the process, and enjoy the run in an aerobic tempo. So I knew that probably most of the people from my blog are going to pass me. So as the people were passing me, and as I said, a lot of people were excited and they were like, "Hey, this is great, this is good." People were trying to ask me, "How is it working? Are there any responses?" Of course, I didn't know because it was all happening behind my back. And I would say it was like 50-50 guys and girls. Like everyone was just so, it was just funny, it was fun, it was funny, it was something different. And some people didn't know if I'm serious or not. I was really serious. I really just wanted to find a date. That's all I wanted. And then at some point I had this girl passing me, and I think it must have been kilometer 20th or like a second half of the marathon. And she was passing me, and then she started to record everything on her phone. And like actually my initial reaction to her, because she was so close with her phone, I had like a moment of annoyance, because it was just very, very
Yeah, I mean,
close.
someone is recording you. I would
I
also
was like,
not like it.
and not only recording, she's passing me. She's like, "How is it going so far? Tell me everything about it. How is it for you? Do you have any scans?" It's like I was so overwhelmed. I'm like halfway through like 42K run.
Surviving.
I know I was really surviving at that time. And I think you can see that on that video because I'm also very kind of sweaty and whatnot. But I was really surviving. But like right after, I thought to myself, she's obviously not from here. I mean, because honestly, anyone from Germany wouldn't like do this with their
Oh
phone.
yeah,
Like no one,
data privacy.
I know. And I thought, like, this is so funny. She's probably not from here. She's having a great day. She's so positive. And I thought to myself, just have fun with it. And I thought, what is she gonna do? She's gonna like show it to her grandma when she's gonna get home how great Berlin was and how crazy it was. And so I had a short chat with her, and then she ran, and I didn't see her since. We finished the race, everything was fine. My family was on 4 different spots. It was great. Honestly, it was probably, first of all, it was the best day of 2024 for me, for sure. And it was one of the best days of my life, I can tell you. Like, changing my mindset has changed everything for me because I had
Hmm.
such a positive mindset. I let everything to I was so present. I was enjoying the process. Like, there were amazing spectators. The temperature was perfect. Everything was great. I never hit, like when people say in like last 10 kilometers should be really hard. It wasn't like that for me. Of course, I ran in my aerobic tempo, so it's much easier than most of the runners for sure. But I just enjoyed every single moment of that run. It changed so much for me, like changing my mindset.
Hmm.
It was amazing day. And then she ran. I haven't seen her. I arrived. She wasn't there. We haven't seen each other. So many runners. Of course, we haven't seen each other. And then I think it was like 10 days later. I'm sitting in my home, like right here, actually, like working. I'm going about my day as normal. And I noticed I have like notifications on my Instagram, and I didn't really initially check because I really wanted to do some deep work, so I was focusing on my work. Then at some point I checked my messages, and one of my friends from my running club has written me, and he said something like, "I hope you found what you were looking for." And I thought, that's so funny. What is he talking about? Is he talking about the sign? I was like, but it's 10 days later. Why is he talking about this? Okay, I didn't think anything of it. Then later I got another message from another friend from the same running club, and he said something like, "Internet is looking for you."
What?
And he sent me the link. So the girl that was passing me, she has posted the video, and I think she had like 100,000 followers at that time already. So I think within 3 days, by the time I have actually seen the video, it had already had 1.5 million views.
Wow.
And the video,
Without you knowing about it.
I had no idea. I had no idea. I went to the video, I saw the video, and my first reaction was I could feel like this hot, like steamy temperature rising up in my body. I was like, oh my God. When I saw this video, first of all, it's like she caught me in the worst moment, probably. Honestly, it was like halfway through the run. I was already very tired, and I was eating. So imagine, like, I mean, you saw the video.
Yeah.
When I saw the video, I was
No, please.
like that was like this hint of a moment. But then I thought, what a great adventure, you know? Like very quickly, because honestly, she caught me in such a bad moment. I was eating like I had energy bars, and I was eating it, and like it was, it's it's not easy to swallow food when you run, and it's like
Oh,
full of,
yeah.
and it's full of peanut butter too for energy. It's like I felt like a hamster, like I had like
Yeah.
food here, and she's like talking to me, and the camera is here, and I'm trying to like survive, and it is honestly not the type of video I would choose for myself to go viral with.
Absolutely. To advertise you're looking for a date.
No, no, but it it worked because people really loved it. I mean,
Yeah.
I was looking at it like every day for the next days, and I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe it has 2 million views. And then we were like, okay, I cannot believe it has 2.5 million views. And then we realized I think it was gonna have 3 million soon. And it was so it was so funny because people genuinely loved it.
Because it's authentic, It's not set up and it just happened like that. And by the way, did you get applications?
Oh my God. It's really funny because yes, well, the thing is that I'm not an influencer. Like my life doesn't happen online. So I was like, what am I going to do about this? And one of the people that has scanned my code has commented on the video at some point. I think it was like it had already 1.5 million views because they were really looking for me, like who was it? Who am I? You know? And one of the people that scanned my code tagged me. So some people started to come to my own profile to send me a message. And yes, I have gotten so many messages from all over the place. I mean, honestly, all over the world. I mean, like
Wow.
really, from guys and from girls also, because everyone loved it. You know, some guys wanted to have a date actually, and some people wanted to just know more if anything worked out of it.
Reach out.
Yeah, some people wanted to tell me they will do the same thing in their own
Yeah.
races, and
And I think
it
they
was
did, right?
they
You
did.
started a trend.
I know. It's really like it started something, and so this situation was no longer about me.
Yeah. And actually, it had some ripple effects. You told me about, you said that you were, after you did this, because you manifested your
Mm,
intention to the universe, whatever. And then
yeah.
something happened in the next days when you went into a supermarket.
Well, it was actually, yeah, it was like that. I think that once the video went viral, you know, I said earlier that when you approach the finish line and you cross the finish line, you feel really unstoppable and something opens. It was kind of very similar after the video went viral because something has opened for me, you know,
Hmm.
because I received so many positive messages. You know, in a situation like this, I expect that there's going to be positive messages and negative messages. I haven't received one negative message.
Wow.
Nothing. Like there was not even negative comments actually under this video. We were both surprised with the girl that recorded the video. Like after it went viral, I connected with her and she said, and she has videos that have a lot of views. And she said, I've never had a video that didn't have anything negative.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, something really opened up in me altogether. I became more, I think, open to people because, you know, like in today's world, I think a lot of us feel very isolated and we
Hmm.
have this idea of how other people perceive us often. And I realized that we're wrong.
Yeah, we
We
want to
are
put a
wrong.
mask on, yeah, but
Yeah.
eventually we don't need.
Yeah. So, you know, yeah, the situation you've mentioned, I actually, after seeing this video, after seeing it went viral, I think after this, I just went grocery shopping and I met someone there. That's it, you know? So but I went to grocery store with that energy of,
Confidence boost.
yeah, like a confidence and kind of like anything is possible type of energy,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
very open-minded.
I'm gonna take whatever comes and then I will
Yeah,
figure it out,
yeah,
basically.
yeah,
That's, I think, an amazing message. I mean, guys, you see, like sport can take you even where you don't think it can.
yeah, yeah. And if it's in your head, you know, it's worth pursuing. If it's in your head, it's worth pursuing, really.
Yeah. And so you're actually a coach, you said, a life coach. So
Mm-hmm.
you basically followed your own advice. And I think sometimes it's very hard because it's easier to say to someone and to spot whatever the person is doing wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but it's harder when you have to do the work on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, having done that, I think it's a very great achievement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, mm, well, actually, I'm a mindset and a career coach. My focus is on mindset. And I can tell you, like, the biggest part of my job is continuous work on myself because I can only take my client where I have gone myself.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of coach that wants to walk their talk, you know? And I did.
Yeah.
I ran it actually.
Yeah, exactly. But that's
Yeah.
so important because I think, I mean, out there, there's so much coaches. There's so many of them, and also when you look for something, you don't know what you get, and then you also have to commit, spending some money and everything. But it's such a great thing that you solidified your profession with this very big experience and you put yourself twice out of the comfort zone doing a marathon, which you didn't feel like it even like few months before, and then also doing something else that absolutely I don't know if I would be able to do it. Like I really don't know if I would go running with a sign on my back telling everybody that I'm not desperate, but like that I'm really like at that level where I'm putting a sign on myself to find someone. But I mean, why not? You know?
Yeah.
That's why I think maybe the trend started. I will look it up, I think, because I remember there was someone from Australia who was also doing it. I will follow up, but I'm pretty sure this is a good way also to find people with the same values as you said at the beginning, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Hmm.
So what's next for you, Daria? That's something that I want to know. I mean,
Hmm. After this marathon, I really thought, so I think I have shifted my trainings a little bit more towards now strength, really, mobility,
mhm,
um, and longevity. But an interesting thing happened. My kind of love for running came back organically. Once I started to stopped putting so much pressure onto myself. mm, there are weeks actually now that I probably run more than I did before. And I only do it because, I like it, not because I feel like I have to. But I think on the long run, I'm going to go more into strength training and altogether um, just type of trainings that are prolonging my life. And
mhm.
I don't think I'm going to ever quit running, especially in the winter time now. It really, really keeps me going.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty much what being an athlete it is in a nutshell. Because,
Mm,
I've also done so many different sports and I keep doing and changing and getting, excited about something. And I felt, wow, I'm weak. I just don't want to commit to one and excel. But I actually got a different feedback from a trainer. And she said to me, well, no, this is exactly what you should do as an adult because you don't want to condition your body in a way that you can perform only certain routines or
hmm.
certain type of sports. You really want, as you said, longevity. You really want to develop all the parts of your body and all the type of movements so you can lift, I don't know, a couch when you
Yeah.
have to move from one apartment to the other or whatever you need to do, in your life. And
Hmm.
this is, I think, the biggest difference. It's not only playing a sport, doing a sport, it's really be better physically and mentally, as you said.
Hmm. Yeah. And as you said earlier, also, we're also working full time and it has to combine well with our lives. I definitely don't want to do something where I have to have so many sacrifices.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because at
Yeah,
the end of the day, you have to have a really balance in life. And if your relationships, for example, they're always taking a hit because, you cannot go out for dinner again, or or you have to sleep much earlier, or you cannot, eat certain things or drink. I mean, it really takes a toll over a long run, if you
yeah,
just have a big focus on one part. So
yeah,
I'm looking for more kind of balance in my life rather than focusing extremely on one side, because at some point in the last 4 years, because it's been now 4 years since I'm running really actively, running has had really central part of my life, and my life was in imbalance, and I really think that's why my body started to really give up, because if we don't notice ourselves and make decision ourselves, our body is going to make a decision for us if something is
yeah.
not serving us on a long run.
Kind of rejecting what you're going
Yes.
through. And yeah, of course, we are connected with our body. It's not separate from our mind.
Hmm.
So, and by the way, even athletes, I mean, they run their course of, sports life, and eventually they retire and they do something else after, and maybe at some point they go back, they start coaching. I was talking with someone who was an athlete, and he told me he stopped at some point. Of course, he became a physiotherapist, and now he started doing like running again because his daughter, she started like to train for 400 meters. So he also found this renewed passion to share with her daughter, which is, I think it's nice. Maybe not expected from him, but life has different phases. It's
Mm-hmm.
not only always the same all time. That's the
Yeah.
beauty, probably.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, Daria, thank you very much. And by the way, if anybody is interested in getting a real good coach who not only talks
Also
but
walks
runs,
and
yeah,
runs.
runs her talks, well, definitely you have Daria. I will link her contacts here below so you can contact her if you need her. And I hope you enjoyed this story. It was really interesting for me to have you here, Daria. Thank you very much for joining me on Aduthlete.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a really good time.
Yeah, and let's close this year because we're almost at the end of
Mm.
2024. It was a great year for you, definitely, and I'm
Hmm.
expecting even greater things for 2025.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you.